What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video. And so today I wanted to share with you one of my favorite modulation techniques that I'm currently using in my music. And so modulation is essentially when you're going from one tonal center to a new tonal center. So for example, C major to G major, A minor to E flat major. Anytime you're changing from one key to another and settling in that new key for any length of time, I would consider that a modulation. Now, of course, there's the topic of, is modulation always necessary? And the answer is no. It really just depends on the context of the music. But for a longer piece of music where you can have more time to play around with ideas and concepts and, expand on certain ideas, modulations tend to be more appropriate because it introduces more interest into the existing piece of music. So I want to share this practical example with you here in my title track, Live My Life, which is in my new album called Live My Life, actually. To give you a little background, this is in the key of C major, and I'm going to start at the end of the first chorus, play the second verse for you, and you can hear that modulation within. So with that being said, let's kind of play this through, and let's have a quick listen.
I'll live my life. I've got a vision for the future. Gotta figure out a plan. I gotta find the right direction. Believe in all my heart I can. I've learned.
Okay, then we settle back into the key of C major. So you might have noticed that key switch halfway through the second verse. And the reason I did this, first of all, before we talk about the actual modulation itself, is because everything up until this point, from the intro all the way to the second verse, it was in the key of C major. So very diatonic, very, I don't want to say predictable, but it's very common, like, right? So you set up an expectation, you deliver that expectation, and then sort of halfway through, when you repeat an idea, then you switch it up the second time, which is very common in classical music. When you're playing the same thing twice, usually the second time you vary it up somehow, whether that's making it quieter, louder, a little faster, a little slower, whatever it might be. In this case, I decided to go with the modulation route. And so let's hear this one more time really quickly. I'm going to expand in just a little bit. I've also pulled up ChordieApp here so I can play that on the keys. So let's find the piano here where it begins. Right here. So here is the verse.
I've got a vision for the future.
Let me play the piano as well. C major.
Gotta figure out a plan.
F major. Now listen to this.
I gotta find the right direction. Believe in all my heart I can.
Right. So there's that color change. That basically is changing the key by moving up a minor third. And so you can call this a chromatic mediant, basically when you're moving from one chord to another chord that's a third higher or lower, usually changing the key center by moving up or down a major or minor third. And so in this case, we're going from the key of C major up a minor third to E flat major. Okay? And this is pretty interesting because we're going from 0 sharps and flats, all of a sudden we're going to a key signature with 3 flats. So it's a completely different color because we're basically introducing a bunch of black notes, right? And there really is no exact reason why I chose E flat specifically, but it's just a difference enough that I thought that, C major has such a neutral open sound and E flat has sort of a darker feel to it. Just the different color, if you imagine things in colors, a different enough color change that you would notice that there's a bit of an atmospheric change to it. So when it comes back to the key of C major, it should feel like it's resettling back into the ground. So going from C up to E flat major is also smooth because you have this G in the C major chord, but you also have the G in the E flat major chord as well. So as long as you have a common tone between the two keys you're going in between, there will be some degree of smoothness, even if all the other notes change. So when you have common tones, they really help to bridge two tonal centers together, especially ones that are really far away. And so there, I'm basically just going from the 1 to the 4 as well in E flat a couple times, whereas I began in C major 1 to 4 a couple times. right? So the 4 chord then goes to the 1 in E flat, then to the 4 in A flat. Another thing I really love doing is going down a major third in keys. So if I was in C major, I also like going down a third to A flat major, for example. And again, we have this common tone as well. So in the C major chord, the C is the common tone between the C chord and the A flat major chord, right? So again, there's that common tone there. But as long as you have a different enough color where the listener can feel like, oh, something is actually changing and it feels like it's lifting me, taking me further, then I think modulations can be really effective. Granted, we don't want to do this all the time because there's always that balance, right? Like if you create a change, I would let that change be the main thing for at least a full phrase. Maybe half a phrase, but like I wouldn't change keys or do these weird non-diatonic chords every single beat of the bar, because at that point you're just sort of overloading the music and it becomes a little too interesting, if you will. Like it starts to turn the listener off. So in my case, the main key changes I did were just here in the second verse, and then in the bridge I also did this modulation to E flat major as well, actually. So maybe I can show you that. So let me go to the end of the second chorus. Yeah. 4 to 5, and then go to the flat 6. So now I'm in the key of E flat. So 4 to the 1, E flat chord, A flat again. Now temporary move back to the tonic in C major, back to A flat, to the 1-6, so E flat in first inversion, to the minor 4, or sorry, to the 2, and then to the 5, moving back to C major. Okay, so there, basically, in the key of E flat, at the very end of that bridge, I went from 4 to 1 to 2, and then you might expect 5, 1. Right, if you're doing like just a classical traditional chord progression. In this case, I wanted the last chorus to be back in C major, so I thought like, how can I, lead myself back into C? And I just wanted to do again 4 to 1 to 2, but the 2 in E flat is also the 4 in C major, so the minor 4, right? So then minor 4 to 5, and then this G chord sounds like it's leading us back to the key of C major because it literally is the last bar of this phrase, and we feel like, okay, now we have that authentic cadence back into the original key of C major. So modulations are just a super fun thing to discover, and I think as long as you understand tonal centers, the circle of fifths is very important to look at as well. Like your starting key can either be really closely related to the key you're going to, or it can be completely across the circle. You can go from, your set number of sharps and flats to something completely different, and that will naturally result in a larger color change. But no matter what you do, you don't want to overload the music with too many of those color changes. So even just one color change in the entire piece can be enough, depending on the context. In this case, it's sort of a pop song structure, 3 to 4 minutes. I thought one color change in some areas was enough, and I didn't need to do more, and that's it. So hopefully that was helpful in some way. Let me know if you have any questions about the modulation specifically or anything else about this piece. I'd be more than happy to make more videos about my tracks from this album, because it really involves the more recent things that I'm going over in my mind when I'm writing music, right? A lot of things I talk about from older tracks I did years ago, maybe they're not as relevant to the stuff I do today, obviously. So if there's anything about this track that you're curious about, just let me know. I'd be happy to do more stuff and content about that. But if you want to see my full entire process, like how I think about music from start to finish, from that initial idea to the polished final master, then I have an on-demand free workshop that you can grab down below in the description called the Complete Composer's Framework. And it literally goes through step-by-step how I think about the music making process, all the way from that first idea, how I put that into the DAW, produce it, orchestrate it, and then get it out into the world at the very end. So it's really, really practical stuff. I hope it's useful for you. And again, you can grab it down below in the description as my thanks to you for checking out this video today. But anyway, thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.